Hello and welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. I'm Fatty Hacker, and today we're going to be finishing off our super damage testing videos by taking a look at the Titan. We're going to be starting things off with the Sentinel, and since the roaming super is the same across all three subclass branches, we only need to run one test. Our first hit does 30,153, our second does 32,360, and our final hit of the light attack combo hits for 57,364. Take note that the numbers you see on the screen for the second hit cycle are lower because the boss sometimes gains damage resistance from his enraged state. So instead we'll take the sum of the first, which was 119,877, and multiply it by 4 because that is the exact number of combos you can use for the full super duration. This gives us a total damage of 479,508, and since the super took 10.43 seconds, the DPS is 45,973. Moving on to the Sunbreaker Titan, we'll start with the top tree, which I will refer to as Shatter Hammers because that is the perk that differentiates its super ability with the other hammer trees. Our first hammer hits for 11,032 on impact, and the shatter damage adds up to 3,234. The second hammer hits for the same impact, but this time comes up with 3 additional numbers on the shatter, which total to 13,527. Our third hits for 2 additional numbers with a sum of 8,699. Anyways, the values fluctuate all the way through, so what I'm going to do is calculate the average value of shatter damage, add it to our consistent impact, and then multiply that by the amount of hammers thrown, which in this case is 6. And that gives us a total damage value of 115,068 and a DPS of 14,050. Next is Bottom Tree Sunbreaker, which is the Sunspot hammer class that creates a sunspot where you cast your super and where your hammers land that both extend your super duration if you stay in them and also do damage to enemies who are in them. So our hammer actually hits for the exact same impact as the top tree, which is 11,032, but now we hit for sunspot damage over time, which is 2,452. We hit this number 30 times on Greg until he dies, and since he dies nearly 75% through our super, I'm going to assume that if we were attacking a target with more health, it would hit another 10 times. Also, this time around, we were able to throw 9 hammers, so in total we have a damage value of 197,368, and over the 11 second super, we get a DPS of 17,942. And our last solar subclass is Code of the Devastator, with the Burning Maul super. And in my test, I kind of botched it because it's really hard to stay in one place while swinging around, but I did calculate that I only missed about 0.75 seconds of damage, so I'll factor that into my final numbers. We know that Greg has about 175,000 health, and since we do slightly more than killing him, I'm going to put the total damage at 190,000, and over the 9.9 seconds it takes, we get a DPS of 19,192. But with this super, there's also a heavy slam attack to use, so it wouldn't be fair to leave out that method of attack. The impact of the slam hits for 12,258, and the burning pit leaves behind a damaging effect that ticks for 491. We're able to get off 8 slams, which is 98,064 from the impact of those, and we end up with about 56,500 from my best estimates of the burning damage, for a total of 154,564, and over the 13 seconds it takes, that gives us a DPS of 11,890. Because this is just a worse way of using the same super, I'm going to disregard it in any of my final considerations. Next up is the Arc subclass. With Fists of Havoc, the only difference between top tree and bottom tree is that the top leaves behind a damaging field on the heavy attack. So I'm going to use that one, and from seeing how much damage it does, we can easily subtract anything extra it does and calculate what the bottom tree would do and if it's even a significant change at all. With this super again, there are 2 attacks, so I'm going to first try spamming the light. We have no choice but to open with the slam though, because that's what happens when you activate the super. Our initial slam damage does 11,985, and the damaging field starts to hit for 4,882, which hits 4 times before fading away. The light attack then hits for 16,082, and we're able to get off 6 of those before our super runs out for a total damage of 128,005. The super takes 8.38 seconds, so we get a DPS of 15,275. But to give it a fair chance, we also have to try using our heavy attacks throughout as well. Our slam hits for the same value as before, 11,985, and we're able to get off 4 of them. Adding this to the damaging ground effect that I counted up, we get a total of 74,320. So yeah, don't use the heavy attacks over the light for boss damage. It takes 6.38 seconds this time around, giving us a DPS of 11,648. Again, just going to disregard this in my final thoughts because it's the same super, but just a less effective way to use it. And the last super of the video will be Thunder Crash, the one you slam that turns you into a human missile. Initial impact hits for 98,059, disregard the 79,000 number as that is just the barrel exploding off to the side. We then start to hit for 5,448 on the damaging wake left behind, which hits 8 times, adding on 43,594, for a total damage of 141,643. For DPS, this one can be a little tricky because technically you can pop it from a mile away and spend as long as you want flying in, but you can also pop it right next to them. So I'm going to consider that it takes about a second and a half to do the full damage start to end, and then just round it up to 2, assuming you're going to use it from close by, because why wouldn't you? And give this super a DPS of 70,822. And to finish off, as usual, my thoughts on all this. Firstly, the Sentinel super right now, I would have to say, is without a doubt an S tier super ability. With Doomfang Pauldrons, it's the longest lasting super in the game, therefore the best for ad clear. The top tree bubble gives the highest damage boost in the game, and right now with this test, we can see that even if you're not using the bubble, and even if you're not doing ad clear, the raw DPS and damage output, if needed in a boss scenario, is still among the best in the game. So besides obvious preference, fun, and maybe some neutral game builds, this blows away all other Titan subclasses. I was also surprised to see Sunspot Hammers is actually now doing more damage than Shatter. In all of my history of playing Destiny online with groups, anytime Titan has run the Solar subclass and wanted to do more damage, people would always use the Shatter tree, say the Shatter tree was better. So pretty surprising to see that that's actually not the case. Next was the DPS of Fist of Havocs, which I will admit there are times where I've used it as a method of boss damage. Now I know I could just be doing more with a shotgun or even some high damage primaries. Lastly, Thunder Crash, while obviously doing insane burst damage, I wish had a slightly greater total damage output, so it could get a little closer into the range of Golden Gun. But it's still a great option for a high damage in a short window of time. Okay, and that's all for today's video. I hope you found this past little series helpful and informative. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more Destiny content like this in the future, make sure to subscribe.